Today is December 29th, 2025, and this is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone.
And we finished a book today.
That's right. Today we're finishing 2 Kings. So we're doing 24 and 25.
Yeah, we're going to drop an episode this afternoon, stepping back from the whole book and just summarizing everything really quick within 15 minutes. So you can look for that this afternoon to drop. Today we're going to read 24 and 25, and this is really the demise of Judah. Judah's taken into exile, really kind of ends on a downer. But chapter 24, we're going to read first, just talks about the last three kings in Judah. Okay, here we go. In his days, chapter 24, verse 1, Nebuchadnezzar, and remember that name because Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon who comes and destroys Jerusalem and exiles them to Babylon. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant for 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. And the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldeans, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the Ammonites, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord that he spoke by his servants to the prophets. Surely this came upon Judah at the command of the Lord to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he had done, and also for the innocent blood that he had shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and the Lord would not pardon.
There it goes back to it's Manasseh's fault.
Yeah. And so just remember that name, like just if you read through like the Old Testament, you read through 2 Kings, Manasseh is just like this bad king. Mm-hmm. He reigned 55 years, but his influence even went for the first 18 years of Josiah's life as well, his grandson. Now, the rest of the deeds of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? Then Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin, his son, reigned in his place. And the king of Egypt did not come again out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken all that belonged to the king of Egypt, from the brook of Egypt to the river Euphrates.
So the king of Babylon is really trying to expand his empire. Yeah. And he actually had conquered Assyria.
Yep.
And now he's going down and conquering Egypt. And of course, he wants Judah. Verse 8. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done.
Okay, the ESV heading here says Jerusalem is captured. This is like the time when Babylon really comes, and Nebuchadnezzar himself even comes to the place. Verse 10, At that time the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up to Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to the city while his servants were besieging it. And Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, gave himself up to the king of Babylon, himself and his mother and his servants and his officials and his palace officials. The king of Babylon took him prisoner in the 8th year of his reign, and carried off all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold in the temple of the Lord, which Solomon the king of Israel had made, as the Lord had foretold. So here this goes back to 1 Kings chapter 7, when Solomon had built the temple, and all of the vessels were there, and now in the destruction of Jerusalem, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, cut them all up, probably melted them down. This maybe perhaps is the Ark of the Covenant, even where it is destroyed, because after this point in history, there's no more mention of the Ark of the Covenant.
It never comes up again.
So wanting the gold more than the precious vessels that Solomon had made, these historic relics, archive, whatever, precious things of history. Anyway, verse 14. He carried away all Jerusalem and the officials and all the mighty men of valor, 10,000 captives. And notice he's taken the best men, the mighty men of valor. Mm-hmm. And all the craftsmen and the smiths. None remained except the poorest people of the land. He carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon. The king's mother was the king's wives, his officials, and the chief men of the land he took into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon all the men of valor, 7,000, and the craftsmen and the metalworkers 1,000, all of them strong and fit for war. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, Jehoiachin's uncle, king in his place, and changed his name to Zedekiah.
Verse 18, Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For because of the anger of the Lord, it came to the point in Jerusalem and Judah that he cast them out of his presence.
And Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. So there we have just the last kings of Judah. We have Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah. Okay, so now in chapter 25, we're going to see Jerusalem and Judah finally falling. We saw Jerusalem captured already in chapter 24, verse 10. That was like the first round. Zedekiah was placed as the ruler, but then Zedekiah rebelled.
Right.
And so Babylon had to take Jerusalem again a second time.
Right. There were some people left still, and their king was Zedekiah, but then Nebuchadnezzar is going to come and wipe out the rest of them.
Yep. And in the 9th year of his reign, that's Zedekiah, so this is 10 years after Jerusalem was sacked the first time. Again, Nebuchadnezzar, on the 10th day of the month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came with all his army against Jerusalem and laid siege to it, and they built siege works around it. So the city was besieged till the 11th year of King Zedekiah. In other words, starved out for a year. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine was so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then a breach was made in the city, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate, between the two walls, by the king's garden. And the Chaldeans were around the city, and they went in the direction of the Arabah. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. Then they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and they passed sentence on him, and they slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. They put out the eyes of Zedekiah and bound him in chains and took him to Babylon.
Verse 8. In the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, that was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the bodyguard, a servant to the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of the Lord and the king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every great house he burned down. And all the army of the Chaldeans who were with the captain of the guard broke down the walls around Jerusalem. And the rest of the people who were left in the city and the deserters who had deserted to the king of Babylon, together with the rest of the multitude, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried into exile. But the captain of the guard left some of the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and plowmen.
This is almost exactly what happened in 24, right? They captured people, took them away, the best and brightest, leaving the poorest into the land. But this time they had destroyed the house of the Lord. So things were without the house of the Lord, it's going to be hard for Israel to unite.
Right. Well, and they destroyed the other houses and the walls. So it was just, they just ruined
Jerusalem's
the city.
in ruins. And the pillars of bronze that were in the house of the Lord and the stands and the bronze sea that were in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans broke in pieces and carried the bronze to Babylon. And they took away the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the dishes for incense and all the vessels of bronze used in the temple service. The fire pans also and the bowls. What was of gold the captain of the guard took away as gold, and what was of silver as silver. As for the two pillars, the one sea, and the stands that Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the bronze and all the vessels was beyond weight. The height of the one pillar was 18 cubits, and on it was a capital of bronze. The height of the capital was 3 cubits, lattice work and pomegranates, all of bronze, were all around the capital, and the second pillar had the same with the lattice work.
And the captain of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 keepers of the threshold. And from the city he took an officer who had been in command of the men of war, and 5 men of the king's council who were found in the city, and the secretary of the commander of the army who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them and brought them to the king of Babylon at Riblah. And the king of Babylon struck them down and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was taken into exile out of its land.
There's the key. Judah was taken to exile out of its land, exiled to Babylon. And over the people who remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, he appointed Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, governor. Now, when all the captains and their men heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah governor, they came with their men to Gedaliah at Mizpah namely Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumeth, and Netophathite, and Jazaniah, the son of the Maacathite. And Gedaliah swore to them and their men, saying, Do not be afraid because of the Chaldean officials. Live in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But in the 7th month, Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama, of the royal family, came with 10 men and struck down Gedaliah, and put him to death along with the Jews and the Chaldeans who were with him at Mizpah. Then all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the forces arose and went to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. So another uprising, another king being destroyed. It's kind of the story of 1st and 2nd Kings. Kings rise and they get killed, and kings rise and they get killed and destroyed.
Okay, verse 27, something that needs to be said is that there's a big time gap between verse 26 and 27. So we jump ahead here. Verse 27 says, And in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, and so if you remember back in 24 verse 12, he was taken prisoner by Nebuchadnezzar. So now we're going 37 years into his exile. It says, In the 12th month, on the 27th day of the month, Evil-Merodach, king of Babylon, so now it's not even Nebuchadnezzar, it's this other guy, Evil-Merodach, the king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, graciously freed Jehoiachin, king of Judah, from prison. I think this is absolutely miraculous that Jehoiachin was not killed, but he was preserved and then he was released. So verse 28, And he spoke kindly to him and gave him a seat above the seats of the kings who were with him in Babylon. So Jehoiachin put off his prison garments, and every day of his life he dined regularly at the king's table. And for his allowance, a regular allowance was given him by the king according to his daily needs as long as he lived.
So there's a story of grace at the end of 2 Kings. Grace to Jehoiachin and grace to the Davidic line of David.
This is how the Davidic line was saved.
Yeah, and we read in Matthew's Gospel, which I have been preaching in Matthew chapter 1, verse 12. After the deportation of Babylon, Jeconiah, that's Jehoiachin, was the father of Shealtiel. So he was able to father children, and then those sons then became the line of David, which eventually came to Jesus.
Well, and Shealtiel's son was Zerubbabel, who is going to be a significant leader in the return of the Jews to Jerusalem.
Okay, so we've finished 2 Kings, and we'll recap that this afternoon.
Right, and then we'll be in Acts tomorrow.
Yep. Okay, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.